Hi, I'm Katie Kempner, and we're here at the 3% Conference. And right now, I'm speaking with Rob Schwartz, who is the CEO of TBWA Chiat, New York. Welcome.
Good to be here.
So, you have a great presence here. We were just talking with Doug, your Chief Diversity Officer. Yeah. I think it's fantastic, and it's fantastic that you came by. Why do you think that this is an important conference?
Well, I think, most importantly, I think we're very disturbed that it's 3%. I mean, we've made progress, I think, to 11%. But it's too few, strong female people in the workforce, and particularly in our business. It's just something that we can't tolerate. It's not the way the world is. It's not the way our clients are. It's not the way the market is, and it's not the way that we want to run an organization.
It seems, though, in this industry, there's so many conversations of all different types of diversity and why things aren't more diverse. Why aren't there more women that stay in the business? Why aren't there more different ethnicities? Why is it that it's taking so long to change when we're having the right conversations?
You know, I think it's very ironic, excuse me, especially here in New York. I think it's very ironic because advertising got interesting when advertising got ethnic. So if you look at the original creative revolution, and if you go back to Mad Men, I mean, this was, just an armada of waspy dudes. And, diversity was, oh, he's Catholic. That was the diversity. And I think the irony was that now we're almost back to the future in that way because we are having these conversations about diversity. And if you go back to the early 60s and what Doyle Dane Bernbach was doing, they were bringing in the kids from the neighborhood. So you were getting these Italians, you were getting these Jewish kids who came in and who injected some life into the business. And I think we've got to take this second creative revolution that's happening in terms of media, and we have to apply a real sense of bringing more people into the business to create the work.
In terms of women, a lot of the roadblocks that it seems, for many women, not all, have to do with childcare and figuring out, how they're gonna. A lot of women, it turns out, not me, hate the word work-life balance.
Right.
But there is that balance, and for men too. Which if you heard Michael Kimmel speaking this morning, he was talking about it's about parenting. But still, in all, are there things that companies need to do around childcare?
Yeah, let's put those kids to work. I think we should start right there. Get these kids making copies.
Such a good
coffee.
idea.
That'll be the first solution. I think a big part of the child care challenge is companies have to be compassionate on the one hand, to understand the plight of parents. It's not just women. I think it's fathers as well. There needs to be a sense of compassion, but understand that the compassion also fuels the capitalism. Mm-hmm. In other words, especially in this day and age, you don't always have to be in the office to perform at the office.
Right.
So if there's a recognition of that, and we've heard some of that today. A company like BBDO is doing it for one of their for their creative directors. I think that things are starting to happen where we're understanding that not everybody's got to be at the agency. That's kind of one way to look at it. I think the other thing is, we have to shatter this illusion of work-life balance. There isn't. We're always working, and sometimes we're not working, and when we're not working, we have to respect that and understand that there's nothing so great that we can't catch up in a few hours when someone needs to do what they have to do. I had to cough then, so that's what I did.
Creative. But now, isn't that, we are in a creative business, and isn't this whole thing about never being disconnected, isn't it important to have a chance to be disconnected so you can be inspired by creative things and be more creative?
Well, I think that's a key observation. I think oftentimes, I know I experience this, and I'm sure you've experienced this, and other creatives experience this. Usually, the idea happens when you're not thinking about the idea.
Yeah.
So there's always these moments. Oh, I was in the shower. Boom, there it was. Or I was, running. Whatever someone was doing when they were not obsessing over the problem. So I think you're 100% right. We need some off time that is somehow connected. So we're connected to the agency, we're connected to our clients, but we're off a little bit.
So what were you talking about here today?
Well, today I had the distinct privilege of introducing the Diversity and Inclusion Panel. It's what TBWA is sponsoring. And they asked me just to say a few words up front. And what was interesting for me was they asked me just to think about it personally before we got into us hammering our sponsorship. But I thought about it. My grandmother worked, my mother worked, I met my wife at work. So I've been around a lot of powerful working women my whole life. And for me, my daughter is a sophomore at the University of Michigan, and I feel like I've got 2 years to create a place, a world where she can enter it without the idiocy and the problems that we currently have. We've got 2 years to get it right, like on my calendar.
Yeah.
So that was the first piece of it. And the second piece of it was to introduce something that we launched after last year's 3% conference. I mean, the folks who went from our network were really inspired. And they came back and we launched this thing called Take the Lead Project 2020. And the mission of the project is to increase senior leadership throughout our global network by 20% by the year 2020. So there's a lot of conversations about recruiting female talent. There's a lot of conversations about mid-level female talent. But we've got to get it at the top level. That really sets the tone, and that sets the halo for the rest of the company.
So retaining.
Well, we've got a lot of strong female leadership now at the top, but we need more, and we all recognize it, and that's what we're working towards.
Well, that's fantastic. So one final thing for younger women walking around here, like your daughter in a couple of years when you figure it out, do you have one piece of advice that you could share with them that's helped you in your career?
I'll share a piece of advice that I didn't do because I was a knucklehead, but I think that you should really get yourself out there, and if you want to meet somebody, go meet them. You have more ways to meet the people who can help influence your career than ever. So find them on social media or walk up to them. Have the guts to walk up to them. And I think, interestingly enough, I feel this. I do feel that younger women in our business, frankly, they have more balls than the guys. They have more guts. And I think as a woman, you're lucky. For whatever reason, you seem to have more guts, at least than I did as a young rising copywriter. So I would say, muster up your guts and go out there and meet the people you want to meet.
That's great advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.